Hello everybody, I thought I would make an anarchy video today because it's been a while that I haven't made an anarchy video, and it is something that I hold dear. I think it's very important to understand anarchy and to do our best to achieve it. Anarchy, with responsibility is true freedom, and I think it's safe to say that the vast majority of anarchists are responsible anarchists who have a vision of anarchy that includes responsibility, because contrary to popular belief, anarchy is not at all lawlessness, chaos, free-for-all. It's just the absence of ruling class or rulers. In other words, true equality, and taking responsibility for yourself. And when you take that responsibility for yourself, this anarchy, this absence of rules, where everybody is responsible for his or her own actions and words, that becomes freedom. And when I say taking responsibility, yes, there are actually rules. As I said, it's absence of rulers, not of rules. And these rules are pretty simple. It's just basic morality. It's just the non-aggression principle, which means you do no harm. You do not initiate violence against another man, woman, or child. You do not, it's the basic things that you teach your 3-year-old or even younger. Don't hurt other people, don't steal or damage their property. And the other thing in anarchy is the right to self-defense. So if somebody is stealing from you, is damaging your property, threatening to hurt you, you can defend yourself with the necessary force. There's no problem with that. And those are the ground rules, basically, of anarchy. So imagine what a great world that would be. It would be so much more straightforward, and we would have a lot more freedom. As it is, I consider government to be immoral because it is coercion by force. It doesn't even exist technically. It's just a notion. It's just the people who give up their responsibility for themselves and their power because they've been told, look, we're the government, we can do this for you. And so we allow people to have power over us, and then we complain about it. Anyway, today I wanted to talk a wee bit about anarchy from a parent's point of view. I'm a parent, and quite frankly, lately I don't think I'm much else. I'm just a mom. And my life, as for most parents, revolves around my kids, even more so I should imagine for single parents, which is my case. And an anarchist parent, that might get some people scratching their heads. Imagine, yes, we do still believe in discipline, and kids are kids. Whether they be statist or anarchist or whatever, they still need structure, they still need discipline, and they still need guidance and protection. And it's not because we are anarchists that we don't give that to our kids. In fact, I would say even more so that we give that to our kids, because we don't really let the state take over our role as much, to the extent possible. I would homeschool. I unfortunately am in a situation where if I homeschool, I will very likely have my kids taken away from me, unfortunately. So I prefer them to go to this public school and do the best at home with them that I can, than for them to be taken away by the state. So there you go. Homeschooling is the best, really it is. Talk about taking responsibility. That is it, because that's the parent's role. As I said, it's guidance, it's education, it's protection, It's nurturing. It's, and I feel that, with schools are great in principle. I think the social side of it, mixing with other children, it's brilliant. Learning to be a little bit more independent of one's parents, although they're actually being taken care of by someone else. Like, it's kind of mixed, school is a mixed thing for me. But yes, I do think that homeschooling in this day and age is the best thing. I think it would be better if you were you found that, you were in a community where homeschooling was the norm. You could rely on other parents. I think the more people homeschool, the easier it will become, because I know there's some parents, I'm sure, a lot of parents who would like to homeschool are a bit afraid of it. It's kind of scary for them taking on that much responsibility when there were free schools and, but if I had the opportunity to make that choice to homeschool, I know that I would go on the internet and I would find out all I possibly could. There are groups of parents on the internet who homeschool, who give each other helpful hints and support. And, if you find some in your area, I'm sure you could, even meet up with them and everything. And I would say go for it. If you're thinking about it, do your homework, gen up on it, and go for it. It is the best thing you can do for your kids, because I'm lucky because the public school my children go to isn't too bad most of the time. That's why I was so shocked about the Charlie Hebdo thing. They're talking about it in school and they observe the minute silence. Okay, the minute silence, if not, they were going to get picked up by the state. They're going to get questioned by the state, because apparently that's what's going to happen to those schools who didn't observe the minute silence. But actually, the other day I found a photocopy of a newspaper article on the Charlie Hebdo shootings in one of the classrooms. And I think they were doing comprehension exercises or something on that. And I was shocked and disgusted, actually. I think it's highly inappropriate that they be talking about that. But, so yeah, I'm sure also that I'm not alone in sending my kids to school against my better judgment, due to circumstances which may mean that, it really is the lesser of two evils, unfortunately. And I would also, there is the opportunity, I guess I do have the option of running away with my kids, but then I would lose my son, and I would deprive my daughters of their father. And as much of a lowlife and a piece of shit I think he is, he's still their dad. So, Yeah, back to the parenting thing. It's, as I said, homeschooling would be the ideal. Can't do that. So I've got to sort of work against all odds here to raise my kids to be decent people. And, the non-aggression principle, that's basically taught, generally speaking, everywhere. Parents, schools, everything, that's fine. Until you get to a certain level where they say, yes, non-aggression principle. But if you've got a shiny badge and a uniform, you can. If you've received orders from somebody in a uniform, you can initiate violence, which is bullshit, basically, absolute bullshit. And that, I think if you raise your kids right, they will not be joining the police, they will not be joining the army, they will not be working for the state at all. So anyway, non-aggression principle, that's good. I think that most parents also teach something that is key to anarchy, and that is taking responsibility for your words and actions. I think we often do that in a negative way, I think a lot of focus is on the negative, getting punished when you don't do, especially in schools. That's the thing, in school, you get punished when you don't conform, you don't do things right. That is taking responsibility for your actions in a way. Also, most parents do punish their kids if they do bad. But I would say an anarchist parent perhaps has different, notions of good and bad. It's not like according to society standards, good and bad. It's according to true morality, good and bad. And encouraging moral behavior, discouraging immoral behavior, and just what I try to do anyway is encourage sociable as well behavior. I know it's not immoral to leave one's dirty laundry in the middle of the living room floor, but it's kind of unfair to mum who has to pick it up, and it's not very nice for everybody who lives here. So, that's like a minor offence here, but it's still an offence. So yeah, there are still punishments, I would say, even in an anarchist household. I mean, obviously no smacking or anything like that, nothing violent. It's just depriving them of things they love. Like no games on the console, or confiscating their favorite toy, or not allowing them to go out to the park. Not allowing them to have sweets. Little things. They like being taken away if they're not good. That's the kind of discipline I go in for, and special treats if they are good, of course, because that's something they don't do in schools. Is reward really good behavior, even if they get like a smiley face or a gold star. Yeah, that works up until a certain age, and then what I hate is later on the rewards are more like getting better grades than your classmates. You're in competition against them, and that's when I say no. You should be in competition against yourself. When it's a question of getting gold stars, and I went to private school, and they actually put the gold stars up on the wall every week. So we were even from 4 years old, we were in competition against each other in the class, and that is wrong. And my parents, really actively and enthusiastically encouraged me to be in competition. And the kind of parents that brag about their kid, and they just like use you as something to brag about. It's just like, oh my fucking god, I'm not an object. But I've always rebelled against that. I've always hated that, this competition against others. I've always been more competition against oneself, beating your personal best in something, and that's a correction that will come later, because that's what I'm basically doing. I'm correcting the education they're receiving at school. So that's the responsibility thing. Free thought is no way encouraged in school. Not now, not ever. So what I do to encourage that, my daughters who live with me, they're 9, twins. 9, and what I do is when they come, and especially with things like history and the Charlie Hebdo shootings and events and things like that, I try and give them simplified, logical explanations other than what they've been given at school, to make them think, maybe mum's right. And it's just suggesting it's so simple. It is so simple, just doing that all the time, and it's working really well. I would say that my 9-year-olds are pretty free thinkers, and I encourage that. And I think if you do that from an early age, suggest alternatives to what they've been taught. Also in math, my elder twin, by 20 minutes, not even 20 minutes actually. She's still the firstborn, she has trouble with their newfangled way of doing maths. So I taught her the way that I was taught, and she gets it, and she's really good with it. And luckily, I haven't had any feedback from the teacher, saying, "Oh, she's not allowed to do it like that." Because I think what she's been doing, if I'm not mistaken, is just writing down a load of numbers as if she was doing it their way, but in her head, she's doing it my way, the old-fashioned way, the logical way. So I'm really kind of, I'm undoing her education in a way. Now, you got to work with what you got. You've got to improvise. You've got to, you know, you've got to do some make some effort. I would say as much effort as if I was homeschooling her. It is really, to be honest with you. But so yeah, so far I've gone through what I've gone through: the non-aggression principle, responsibility, and free thought. Wow, yeah. And I talked about the competition element as well. One thing that they do have in school, in the school that my children are at, which I'm very lucky, is they are quite strong on compassion and respect for other people and that kind of thing, and helping each other out. They do encourage that, which is a good thing, which falls, into the cooperation category, which is good. I mean, at school they're pretty good at that. With each other and with me, not so much. So I do try and encourage cooperation at home. Again, the cooperation thing. It's a disciplinary thing as well. If you cooperate, things are great. If you don't cooperate, well, things are crap, basically. I'm trying to I know this doesn't sound very sort of free and everything. It sounds a bit like coercion, but it's not really coercing. I'm allowing my children to choose to behave well or not, but I'm making darn sure that they feel the consequences of that choice, whether it be positively or negatively. And it's still in progress. It's still work in progress. It's not easy. You got to stick with it, because as a mum, and especially a single mum, I am sick and tired of always having to be the bad guy. Depriving them of things and not doing fun stuff with them because they've not been good. And but anyway, yeah. I just wanted to go to the last thing of anarchy, which is the self-defense, the right to self-defense. I think they're too young, really, at 9, to be thinking about that, but that will come in later. So I haven't really got much to say on that, because I actually kind of like see how things go, and I improvise as I go along. I try and figure out ways of balancing out their education at school, because it's not all bad. They do actually learn stuff at school, so it's not just indoctrination. And of course there is the social side to it as well, which is great for them. But yeah, being an anarchist parent is really difficult, actually, because sometimes you do feel like you're almost going against the principles of anarchism. You do question yourself. But then, you've got to remember that these are children, they're not adults yet, and you need to guide them. And there's guiding and coercion aren't the same thing. You're coming from a good place, you're not locking them up in cages, you're not threatening them, really. You're just giving them a choice and saying, if you make the wrong choice, there will be negative consequences. If you make the right choice, there will be positive consequences. Now you decide. And trying, and funnily enough, they don't always make the right choice. Even if you explain to them fully, they will still try and see what the wrong choice brings. And they may even do that several times over, or for years and years. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. No, but we do make progress. It's just slowly but surely, and I believe that being on my own is probably something that slows down that progress, unfortunately. But anyway, I hope this video has given you food for thought, whether you're whoever you are, especially if you're a parent or you're going to be a parent, and especially if you're an anarchist, or if you're not an anarchist and you're watching this, and it might give you some insights into what anarchy actually is. you know, I'm an anarchist, I'm a mum, and I'm talking about that. So, anyway, thank you for listening, and I shall speak to you soon.